Hey everyone, welcome back to Consistency. Unfortunately, Frank couldn't be with us today, but he is here with us in spirit. But I do have a special guest for us today, my good friend Chris Davis. He's I've known him since Georgia State, and he's continued to just remain in my. I actually mentioned him in one of the earlier episodes. He was the one who helped me get into my first real professional gig as a developer. He's also a UI UX developer or designer, UI UX designer. So I should know that. I just finished the class, but yeah, I want to give him a chance to introduce himself, kind of just give you a quick update on what he does. I'm gonna ask him a couple of questions, and then we're gonna get into some other conversation. Chris is very well knowledgeable on music and just design. We talk so much, so we were like, we've had a lot of really great conversations, and we were like, we need to record one of these one day. So we're finally doing it. So yeah, Chris, if you just want to give everybody just a quick spiel about who you are, what you like to do, and then kind of take things from there.
Yes, I'm Chris Davis. I'm a UI UX designer. I've been in design for about going on 14, 15 years now. I started off in graphic design, started off pretty early. Back in high school, went to a visual and performing arts school as a high school in Georgia. So yeah, that was my introduction to graphic design. And then after high school, went to Georgia State. I actually started off in computer science, but then just like over time, that just was not my calling. So I did more of the front end interface and software design for that stuff. So that's where my love for just design in general continued. Then me and a couple of buddies, we won the GSU, well, second place at the GSU business plan competition at Georgia State in 2015 for a company called Event Tent. So my buddies there, they brought me on board with that as a designer. And then that kind of sparked just a domino effect on just my career after that, like the experience from that app design, web design, just kind of followed me through different agencies I worked at, software companies, and now I'm just I've done it all. Like I've been a graphic designer, UX designer, creative director. Like I started my own company earlier this year, so I'm doing that. Yeah.
Kudos. Real quick, I just want to let everyone know these are the type of people that you meet when you go to school, So that's one of certain things that I've mentioned earlier episodes. I just want to reiterate because Chris is someone who you're not gonna run into someone like him just out in the blue. I'm telling you, he's a special guy. He's a very special guy, and yeah. So we're definitely gonna pick your brain a little bit. So
Okay.
I just completed my Google certified UX UI design course.
Nice. I like it.
So that was a lot inspired by just seeing what you do and kind of how you've been involved in different companies. So that's always something that I've been interested in. But I had already gone the technical route, so I think I really kind of just learned it more to just enhance. I'm not necessarily trying to become a UX designer, but I see how important that position is. And so I just kind of wanted to ask you in turn, like, what was probably the most, let's see, how do I want to start this? Okay. What was the most, let's start out with what's your favorite part of being a UI designer at this moment, or is that your current position, or what are you currently?
Yeah, UI.
Okay, yeah. So just go into that, and then we'll get into some more questions as we go.
Yeah, so like my favorite part, I was just thinking about this today actually, like because I had a call with another designer. I'm actually on it's a new project right now on the government tech side, and we were sprint planning, and we kind of like went from we went from assigning different PBIs to like going and into solutioning about what the work is going to be this upcoming sprint. So with
Hold on,
that,
real quick. What's a PBI? Just so,
yeah,
yeah.
so it's the product backlog item.
Okay.
So so in agile development, at least the way we do it here at the company I work at right now, we we do sprint planning before at the end of each sprint, so we can see what our capacity is as a team, and then see what the needs are for the customer. In this case, it's going to be the government. So not going into much detail, I do like projects for Space Force, Air Force, like stuff like that on a private sector. So we were in sprint planning today, and like something came up where we were like, okay, we were looking at flow charts and looking at the um, what the item was going to be, which it was like editing, updating an edit state page. So we went from talking about, okay, this is going to be like 5 or 8 points, to going into flow charts and drawing out wireframes and like solutioning and like saying what the customer needs, stuff like that. And I just love stuff like that. Like it's always a new challenge, like to balance out what is the customer's need, what is the business needs, and how can we kind of intertwine that through customer feedback, through iterations, and see what is the best solution. So yeah, that's probably one of my favorite parts is just the new challenges every day.
Okay, cool. And so I'm asking these questions because I really want videos like this to be a tool for people who are looking to, either switch careers or just, understanding what's out there. Because I do feel like a lot of times it's hard to even know what positions are out there. Like when I first graduated, I did know to become a developer, but, I had no clue as into how. So actually, I think if you kind of could explain to people like about your first internship, because you were in the game super early, like, you know what I mean? So yeah, just kind of
Yeah,
go into some of that real quick.
yeah, no, it's so like my time at Georgia State, like I was doing a lot. I was after I transitioned and realized like, okay, computer science isn't what I really want to do, and I went back into design because that was always what I've done back in like high school. Um, Once I went back into that, thing just started to fall in place again. So what year was it? It's probably like summer. Yeah, I think it was summer of 2014, 2015. I was taking a couple of like design classes, and I was just like, I'm not even trying to like brag. I was like one of the top students in one of my design classes, and then I was like getting pretty like close with my professor, just like asking them, staying after, asking them questions because they were like familiar with the field. They were like working as a creative director at CNN before they were a professor there, and they still had connections and stuff. So we would always chat after class, and he was like, "Yeah, man, actually, what are you doing? Do you have a position this fall? Like, because I have one of my close friends, Gail. She's starting as the new PR manager for the School of Music at Georgia State." And I was like, okay, that seems pretty cool. And he's like, yeah, so she's looking for an in-house graphic designer. And I was like, oh, okay, nice. So that kind of it was a really good environment because once I met up with her, did like a formality interview, and got the position. I was there for about 2 years. I worked as the in-house graphic designer for the School of Music, and that showed me on the design aspect of an agency. How does the agency operate? So I would do like 20, 30 plus flyers a week for different School of Music events. And before I got into that position, they were the way they did flyers where like, they would have like a blank sheet of paper and like have some text. Like you could tell it's done like a Word document, like name of the event, time and date, and free admission. And I was like, okay, well the bar is pretty low here, so I can
Right.
like it's on here. So they gave me a lot of creative freedom. Like I just pulled different themes and images and designs and colors and patterns, and like really got the essence of what the event was. If it was like a saxophone day type event, I showcased that. If it was what was it? If it was like a jazz session or like a jam session, I got those elements out there too, and that really, one, it showed me the pace that I needed to keep up with the agency. Two,
Mhm.
it gave me variety of different projects and different subjects within that space. And three, it showed me that there's a niche in the design world. So, and really with anything, but
Mhm.
from that, after I graduated, I ended up having getting a full time paid internship at a global agency called Fleischman Hillard. So I don't know if you guys heard of that. Not probably yeah, probably haven't, but I didn't at the time. But it was a big deal when I told my supervisor at the time from GSU. He's like, "Wow, yeah." I was like, "Yeah." So it allowed me to build my portfolio, and once I got my position there, I was there for about a year, um, and I always like knew like, oh, it was just a stepping stone. I didn't want to stay there. Like we it was like a mutual thing where, okay, we just have a paid internship program for like the top prospects, and I just want to get your name. I want to get this company's name on my resume for the next
Right.
place, which I did. Um, and it just, yeah, man, like there's just so much you can do with design in general. Like you don't have to be boxed into just one industry. Like you can go in, it's just like being a lawyer, to be honest. You can go into entertainment, you can go into tech, you can go into healthcare. And even within those umbrellas, you have different like branches of services and hospitality and tech in its own space. So over time after that, I ended up going to I feel like I skipped the well, that's fine. But after that, I ended up going to another agency for a little bit as a contractor, and that was it was a government agency, so they government advertisement agency. So they did like Republican and Democrat, like just type of campaign stuff, and it was kind of weird but fun at the same time because I learned something new like every day, and that's another thing I like about design. Like you learn something new every single day, or if you're not, you want to be able to learn something new at least every week. But
Mhm.
yeah, from that, it just showed me again. I had to keep up with the pace. I had to keep my high quality standards, but also make sure I'm delivering on time, and
Right.
just digesting and listening to feedback and what the ask is as a deliverable, but also critically think, is this the best solution to communicate what the message, whether it's an event or some type of service, is this the best way to communicate that? So from that, after I finished up over there, I ended up getting hit up by a recruiter on LinkedIn because at that time my resume was stacked with like print job stuff going on. I was always freelancing throughout the years. I did like a lot of freelance for Women in Technology in Atlanta, or that branch.
Mhm.
I was doing event tent stuff, designing all those graphics and marketing and UI. And then, yeah, the School of Music. That was like, yeah, my portfolio and my resume was stacked at the time. So with all that, um, my I guess my introduction officially into the tech space was Code Metal.
Mhm.
So after I went through the interview process there, they told me their expectations. I told them mine. It seemed like a great match, um, and then opened up my eyes into the government tech space, which I'm still doing that stuff now, which is really cool. I always find my way back there,
Yeah.
and really one is because like there's a real challenge in the critical and design thinking of like what goes into those specific customer needs, because you have to think about what is are they using satellite communications, or are they using like local networks? Like they're trying to bridge the gap of something, um,
Mhm.
whether it's soldiers getting internet so they can communicate through email and Zoom and stuff like that, or whether it's like trying to figure out where the knocks and nodes are. Are they like, do they need maintenance? Are they in service? Is the status good? Like stuff like that. Um, just as a designer, I've seen it all, I've done it all.
Right.
Every single step I've taken so far has got me to where I am now, which I feel like I just, man, I forgot the original question. My bad, but
No, you good, man. Because that's really what I wanted you to kind of go over. Because really, what you've been saying, you've hit on a lot of like very good points, but and
yeah,
a lot of things that I really want to highlight real quickly. Like you got started so early in
hmm
your career. Like I was really kind of the complete opposite. Like I didn't do any like you were staying after class,
yeah,
talking to your professors And now that's something that whenever I see kids, or I'm like, yo, you need to talk.
No, for
You
real.
need to talk to these professors. You need to
Yeah,
talk to your teachers because
they're
that's the
real.
real beginning of your network.
Exactly, they're real people, and like you said, network. They're real people with real experiences, and in a way, like if you connect with them, their network could be your network. Like, that's one
Mhm.
thing, especially that I love about being in Georgia State and Atlanta specifically. At the time, is because one, people want to see you do well for the most part in there over
Mhm.
there, and then two, it is so easy to network. Like even nowadays, like you don't have to like network doesn't have to be like boxed in. Like you can network by staying after class, talking to your professor. You can network by talking to a family friend or talking to a classmate or talking to a coworker. You can network just going out and about, doing something that you're interested in, and just speaking with somebody, and a conversation. Like network is about just being personable, and if you have a service or something that you're interested in, see if someone needs that service or interest, or even a hobby. See if somebody needs that to fill in a service or a space that they have, and it can be not a barter system, but it can be like a good exchange, and you
Mhm.
always have that connection. And that's another thing about networking is how do you maintain connections? Like don't let it fall off. Try and keep in touch. Um, yeah, just stuff like that. So.
Great, great advice. Another thing, like starting at internships, I think a lot of people do a lot. I'm not. I think maybe some of them were any of them unpaid, or all of them were somewhat paid.
All of them, well, no, all of them were paid. Like the only
Okay.
you talking about like mine specifically.
Yeah, I was just saying.
Yeah, the only thing that was unpaid in a way, well, all the way was the events and stuff, which that was something that we just did on our own. Um, but that was yeah, I mean, you see the dividends in that even because, like I said, like that one that builds your resume, builds your portfolio, it builds your experience.
Mhm.
It just like it gives you a certain tenacity to where like you could do anything. You feel like you could do anything after that. So
Actually, yeah, touch on Eventing because I remember this. Like, really, let me just tell people, like, Chris, like I said, Chris was doing it all for real. So I
yeah,
seen. I think where we were already roommates at this point, or this was like you were still in the lofts at this time.
yeah. So I was in the law school when it started, and then like year two was when we were roommates that summer.
Okay.
I was grinding I was doing
Yeah.
events, I was doing summer classes, then I was working at Perimeter Mall. Like I was
I ain't seeing too much.
yeah,
Yeah, I ain't seeing too much during that time, but yeah. So he is part of a startup, I guess we can call it.
yeah.
They had won in a came second place in an event, and then they had gotten some funding.
Mm.
And man, that was really inspirational to me as well at that time because I was doing We the Sauce, so seeing you get all of that from your app idea, like I was like, okay, cool, it's possible. So
Yeah.
yeah, just kind of go through just briefly as much as you want to go into it, just to kind of talk about that experience for me.
Yeah, so that was a cool experience. Like I touched on a little bit earlier, but like basically it came at a time where when I was in transition from okay, do I want to stick with computer science or do I want to like just really go with my passion of design? And so that's when I around time after I changed my major, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'll be all in. And again, things just started falling in place after I did that. It's crazy. And one of my buddies, Duval, he went to Georgia State too. He's actually gonna he's a computer science major. He's like a couple years ahead of me, and he computer science major and on the football team. And he was just so busy all the time, and I just used to always like run into him in down the hall. Like he'll just be like so tired, but like he'll like take the time and like catch up and stuff. And we always stayed in touch. And I just remember one day he hit me up and he's like, "Hey man, you got any extra time in your hands? Like me and my buddy Justin, he has this app idea. I don't want to get into much detail. Or we can talk like later once we meet up. But there's an app idea, and they could use some extra hands." And I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm down. Yeah, I can hear him out." So then we met at the library one evening after classes, and it was me, Justin, who came up with the idea, and then Duval. And
Mhm.
so it was crazy. Like it was just us in the meeting room in the library, and like, yeah, it was just like I just remember like oh, it's just like funny. It's just like three of us, and we like trying to like game plan.
Together something.
Oh, take over Atlanta and take over like the app space. And it was like this was around when apps were just like really hot,
Popping up, yeah.
hot off the press, and it was like the golden age almost. So
Mhm.
yeah, we were talking and stuff, and I was like, yeah, man, I think Duval told me a lot about you. Talented. I think you'd be a good asset to the team. And so I was like, yeah, man, yeah, sign me up, let's do it. Of course, it wasn't paid. Again, none of us were getting paid. We just doing it out of passion
Right.
and out of doing something bigger than ourselves. And we did want to inspire, just the community overall, which we really did, man. Like over that time, like it was like what 3 years or so. Like we just, we from there we found another designer, we found another developer, um, and then we had like a team of five essentially.
Mhm.
I mean, we had a team of five, and yeah, man, we were figuring things out on the fly. We would go wait outside of classrooms and like do customer discovery. Like we would survey over 100, 200 people by hand and record it and ask them how did they find out about events? Do they commute? Do they live on campus? And then yeah, like what type of events do they like to go to and stuff like that. So we were, and that's UX. That was my
Yeah, I was just about
exactly. That was my first like real like introduction to UX, and I didn't understand it. Well, I knew it, but I didn't understand at the time that that would be very essential to where I'm at today.
Mhm.
Um, because that is a big part of UX. Actually, is actually speaking with the end users, the
Right.
customers, and the users. Um, because we did what 1 to 200 surveys in person, and over time, through different wireframes and different beta testing, we eventually got something out. We got out an MVP. We tested out internally at first, and
Mhm.
then we put it out to. We would have like some demo day events, which are really cool. We would
Yep.
partner up with like local vendors and stuff like that. And one time we even had a meeting with Mike Will, and it was like cool, but
Yeah.
nothing came out of it. It was just crazy timing. But like yeah, man, like it's like you never know where it take you. Like I met Jermaine Dupri, Steve Harvey, like it's like just random stuff because people were seeing, okay, like this is bigger than just yourself. And yeah, man, like just yeah, that was a really good experience with just user experience,
Mhm.
user interface, building something from scratch, and then like seeing the end result. Like, yeah, we won like second place at a business plan competition, which gave us $10,000. Because I believe first place was $20,000. So
Mhm.
after we got the $10,000, we took that summer to start development and marketing, which there were some pros and cons to how we went about it. Like
Mhm.
we were like, you couldn't tell us nothing that we went at 10,000.
Hey,
That was a lot.
10,000 in college, man. Come on, bro. Yo,
Yeah, we was that's around the
man.
time where if you read this too late was out, so we was playing 10 bands, 20 bands, like
Oh yeah, yeah.
like but that was just like that was the night of the competition when we won second place.
Mhm.
After that, the next week we got to it. We would meet at the student hall, like no, student center, not student center. We
Mhm.
would be there like probably every day, probably every weekday. We would meet there and just map things out with development and marketing. And one thing that definitely showed us, or at least me, was that we focused way too much on marketing. Like we were, and maybe it's because of our age and our environment, just being college students, but
Mhm.
we knew we had something like really good and really cool, and we knew how to make it look cool. But we also like, yeah, a lot of money went towards marketing, and then
Mhm.
we only had like probably I'd say like a more than a third, like yeah, probably like a third or 2/3 of the funding for development. Which after the beta test and demo days, we were using, I believe, Amazon Web Services, but like it
Mhm.
was like eating up so much memory. Like the funding, yeah, eventually runs out, and but it was still it was still a success to us because we got it out to the public in
Right.
some fashion or form. And then two, like it showed us like we did something from start to finish. Um, we put our heads together, and that also like sparked the entrepreneur spirit in me too. Like we all got out of our comfort zones, and because we had to go like pitch competitions at Georgia Tech, pitch competitions at like you just around the city, like yeah, it was really cool, and that was another way to network too because there were other people doing it, the other students doing that too from
Right.
different schools. Yeah, UGA, Georgia Tech, Georgia State, Georgia Southern. Like it was, yeah, we met a lot of cool people around that time, and yeah, that really sparked a deep entrepreneur spirit in me that I still have to this day, which is why I started my company early this year, finally, because I would always do like freelancing, contracting. I'll always do that. I've been doing that since high school, so that's why I always have like a step up. I feel like early on. So, but yeah, just yeah, it really is a lot of power in doing something like that yourself. Well, not yourself, but like just to see it from start to finish.
Right.
How can you measure success like that?
Nah, man. Hey, certified bag getter, man. Davis. Like, man, you really do need the. Chris has been talking about starting his own podcast or
Yeah,
just doing some type of streaming. So I definitely encourage because your story needs to be told, man. You know what I mean? Like you've done a lot of things out here. I'm honored to have you. Early. Like people don't know. Like I'm always like I think we do both look into the future, but
yeah,
these are moments like I'm like, oh yeah, I can say I had Chris Davis on
yeah,
one of my
yeah.
early streams. So you know what I mean? I know how important this is. So. Um, so let's see. We talked about your career, like really like as I was going through this course of for the UI UX, it's like I was familiar with a lot of things from talking with you and just kind of being in the tech space already. So it wasn't brand new information to me, but it did show me just like, okay, because in the past I've tried to start apps and
Yeah,
me being technical, I would start just building something without even I
yeah,
wasn't asking no questions. I wasn't doing so you know what I mean? And now I'm like, in retrospect, I see just how many mistakes I made by skipping the process. Now I didn't even understand that there was a process at that time, and I was kind of mostly doing it on my own. But that just goes to show that there's always something that you can learn, and
exactly.
it's much better to do it with people than to try and do it alone. Like
Hmm.
really, I think if anybody is out here trying to, you have an idea for an app or something, you need to start with thinking about the users first.
Yeah.
That's the only important thing. Like, you don't forget about what you want it to do.
Hmm.
You have to start with who you're trying to serve, what you're trying to help them accomplish, and then everything comes later. And if you do it out of that order, I promise you're going to end up in a mess because you'll build something that nobody wants to use or nobody can use. So
Exactly. And yeah, I'll touch on that a little bit too. Like we one thing when we were doing the app stuff, like we focused too much on too many different things. Like we were like we had like 5 different pages, and then we're like, oh, we want people to be able to create something, but create an event, but we also want them to be able to look and see inside of an existing event. But then we also want to have advertisement for different events. Like it was just like so much. So yeah, I would just say, yeah, just throughout my career, I've learned to find like find a niche that you can hone in on, and it could, like I said, like there's different there's different entities and branches within different industries. So find like a lawyer, like a designer, like a doctor, whatever. You can find a focus in a certain space, certain lane. Um, so yeah, that's why I would say yeah. Don't focus on too many things. Get really good at one thing and then iterate on that because it's a iterative process. Like you're supposed to iterate over time. So one, yeah, you want to get the users, you want to ask your users what do they want, what do they need, and then kind of separate that and say, okay, they want this, but is it a need or is it a want? And then once you get the needs, at least the bare bones needs or whatever, then you can have the MVP. And then
Mhm.
once you have that MVP, you want to put it out, give it to the users, and test and see what their feedback is. Do that over time, and then start again. It's an iterative process.
Very, very real iteration. Learned that in one of the sections. It was a very thorough class, I must say, and like I do plan on. I'm gonna share this with some of my classmates who was with it because like they brought on a couple of UI UX designers to talk to us,
Nice.
but they were pretty quick conversations and people had questions, so
Mhm.
I don't think a lot of people got like this level of knowledge transfer when it came to the UI UX design process. So
Yeah,
yeah, definitely will be sharing this with them.
yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Let me. I know we had talked about some other things that we had wanted to touch on. Oh yeah, so that's enough of career stuff.
Okay,
Let's
yeah.
get into some hobbies. So
Okay.
a lot of people don't know Chris is also in his spare time. Look at this man; he does so much in his spare time. He also DJs, and so
Yep, yep.
I have
DJ.
a couple of his playlists. He has them on SoundCloud available. They go by Dope Works, right?
Yeah, DJ dope work. Yeah.
DJ Dope Work. So yeah, kind of explain how you got into that. Like I said, this man is a real bag getter. He got so many jobs. This man was DJing, making apps, internships. Like,
Yeah,
man, salute to Chris, man.
I
But
appreciate
yeah,
that.
just get into the how you did some of your hobbies, man.
Yeah, man. So I've always been like a huge music lover. Like I can't remember, probably like middle school is when I really honed in on it and started doing like my history, especially
Mhm,
like just like hip hop and rap.
mhm,
But I've always had an eclectic, just like taste. I listen to a lot of different genres, but my favorite is always like trap and recently Afro beats and
yeah.
electronic and all that stuff. But I got into DJing in my college days. Like, well, before that, middle school, high school, I would be the person to like burn CDs, like
Mhm,
LimeWire,
mhm,
and ask me what the playlists are. They'll give me a playlist. I'll go home and burn the CD, bring it back to school the next day,
mhm.
and then I just always did like yeah, just I just love music. So then I get to college, and this is actually around the time one being in Atlanta, like it's the music capital. It still is. I feel like
Mhm.
um, yeah, that was one of the reasons I want to be there too, just to network and grow, and then also be around the music space there. So in college, actually around the Vincent time, when we had our team, we had our other designer there was Jasmine, and Jasmine she was super cool. Like when we had our demo day events, which would be like events that we would put on around the city, we'll have like food from different vendors. We'll have live like music, big stereo speakers, and then we'll have spaces for people to test out the app. Um, and we actually at the time we one time we partnered up, well, a couple times we partnered up with 112, Cortland 112 with
Mhm.
student housing downtown. So we got
Rest-
pretty cool. Yeah, no, no, for real. Like, we got cool. We got so cool with them. They allowed us to do a few host a few pool parties and stuff at the
mhm.
rooftop. And that was my introduction to actually DJing because Jasmine was our resident DJ when we would do these events, these demo day pop ups and stuff. And so I would just be like, man, like just having access to the DJ right there. I'm like, man, like you gotta. I used to always like be like, yeah, you gotta show me a little something. Like you gotta show me how to how to work this stuff.
Mhm.
Like she just saw my passion with that stuff, and so after the events were done and we had like a couple extra hours, like we'll stay back and she'll show me the basics of beat matching and then going up the tempo, going down, and then like just seeing how the frequencies work. And I was like, damn. Once I started playing around with it, I was like, yeah, this was built for me. This I was in my element again. Besides design, I'm in my element again. So after I got the basics and I got my first controller, the DDJ, was it, I think it was a DDJ 400 or 100, one of those two. It was a DDJ Serato controller, and
Mhm.
it wasn't. it didn't cost much at the time as a college student. It was, I mean, it was like $250. I got from Amazon, but I just had to save up for that being in college stuff. But once I got that, and I got some good speakers, just I would just practice in my room, and my roommates probably would like be annoyed and stuff. But I mean, honestly, they didn't mind over time. Okay, yeah, he jamming and stuff, and great
Yeah.
sound for them. And yeah, I'm just after I felt comfortable enough to where I got everything but like down to second nature. Then yeah, I started reaching out to people for some gigs around the city. I used my network. A few of my friends were in sororities and fraternities, so they would hire me to DJ at their parties and stuff. So I did that, and then eventually it just always stayed with me as a hobby. I still do it now. I keep saying that one of my goals is to do like some sort of like just a weekend residency or something somewhere. So I need to once I hone in on actually like focusing on that. I'm sure I'll do that. But yeah, DJing is yeah, it's a really big hobby of mine. Just music in general.
No.
I just
Yeah.
blessed with a really good ear.
Facts. Yeah, Chris. He gave me my first couple of DJ lessons. I haven't gotten to, but actually I bought my first controller from him. So
Yeah, yeah, paying it forward.
so yeah, I definitely want to get into that. I mean, that's also another way that me and Chris have connected over the years. Like we both listen to a lot of the same music. Actually, we've lived in the same area for a long time too. So we would always be at each other's homes and just listening to music and stuff. So, and that's led to a lot of like great conversations and discussions just about music in general,
Culture, all that.
culture. So really, honestly, true, because when we was both in Code Metal together, we were both. It was like we had to drive like an hour to get to work, so we would always. So by the time we got to work, we would have heard the new album, and then, what I mean. We eating lunch together, so we get to talk. So really, that was kind of where a lot of great ideas for just like also when it comes to We the Sauce, like I got them through conversations with Chris. So
Nice.
so yeah, we're gonna use that to transition into music. So we in 2024 now. When was that? That was like 2020 when we was at Cold Metal. So
yeah, like 2019.
2019. Yeah, you're right. But so what's your personal feelings about 2024 so far musically? Kind of just I know it's a crazy year, so just give me some of your highlights and then we could discuss them like that. So.
Yeah, I say like just the big thing for me with 2024 is music sounds re-energized again, but also like specifically hip hop. I'll say rap, but really hip hop, like the culture of it. Like I don't know, everybody's talking about like the Drake and Kendrick beef still. Like that happened early this month. Well, it got into full form early this month. But I feel like it's just it's a layered thing in so many different ways. Like it just it gave a resurgence to hip hop because the past couple years before 2024, hip hop, the numbers were down, and I feel like that was also a consequence of the type of artists that we had. Like we had like a lot of great artists that we lost, like way too early, like just age wise, just everything, like way too early. And those were a lot of the trendsetters in the space that we had, and that was our future. Not to say that we still don't have a future in the culture, but yeah, because like seeing them go so early left a void the last couple of years. So we saw numbers go down. We saw hip hop at one point it was like the top genre. In the last couple of years it went down. So like this whole resurgence right now in 2024 is like really big. I just hope it keeps going forward, but we'll see how it pans out. But there's been a lot of good music in general outside hip hop too. Like Willow, she put out a new album.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like I could look through my library now and see, but it just so many artists being consistent, like Currency, and then just a lot of it's a really good year for music, I feel like.
Yeah, you talking about that void that's been left. Actually, I was just thinking today In terms of Drake, because you've seen these reference tracks coming out, and it really had me thinking just more. There hasn't been too many new acts after that, like Pop Smoke, Juice World, Triple X Wave.
Yeah.
After they all have passed away, we haven't seen any any new superstars, in my opinion. None that I could think of off of the top of my head, anywhere.
Yeah.
But it kind of has me thinking that in order for music to kind of be successful, because I know for me personally, there's a lot of songs where I'm like, oh, that's a good song, but like, if Drake had sang it, then it would have been a hit.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to think that a lot of new artists are kind of having to come up under an umbrella and kind of give their music to more established artists, because those are the only ones who kind of can get the proper traction. So it's like, even when I hear these reference tracks, when it comes to Drake, you know what I mean? I already believe he's very talented, but I do feel like, the number of hits that he has is unnatural a little bit. And so, that's kind of leading me to think that, and I've also been seeing a lot of people just break down kind of the history of certain songs and kind of how they came about. Like, when did Tuesday by Drake and McConan and Drake? I'm sorry.
That was like
That was-
2013.
That was 2013?
2013, 2014, probably 2013. But
yeah, probably 13.
Yeah.
Dang, that was 13. Okay. Yeah, I guess that was my I was really thinking it was like maybe 2014. But yeah, so I don't know if you saw about how that came up, or if you even remember when that song came out at first, and it was a hit, and then Drake hopped on the song, which I think up until that point that Drake's stimulus package was a real thing. And then I think they took that and kind of figured out a way to monetize off of it a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of led the music industry in a different direction in total. Because, and just with all of these reference tracks coming out, I've been seeing a lot of people reference when Kanye was on Drink Champs and was saying that Drake was like worth 12 writers in a room.
Yeah.
And I think that, because a lot of people, I don't think they understand why it's okay for Ye to have writers as opposed to Drake, which it's okay for Drake to have writers as well.
Yeah.
But just in terms of finding out that Kanye has a writer isn't as detrimental as it is finding out that Drake has a writer, because of what we know Kanye for. So Kanye was really making beats first, and then it just so happened that he could rap as well, or and he was showing that he could rap as well. So with Drake, I feel like, and so it's like once Kanye, I think for me, and I've always appreciated the way that Kanye would put a project together in totality. And so that's one reason I never truly compared them to, or kind of had them on the same place, because I'm like, if you look at a project like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, I'm like, there's nothing that Drake has put together that sounds like sonically as cohesive as that, to where you're like, I mean, and that might be why people say Drake doesn't have a classic album, maybe. Like, I guess that might be where that argument comes from. But that's the artistic genius that I look for from Kanye, as opposed to Drake. Like, so even when he drops Donda and the Ye project, which people might not like all the way, I'm like, are you paying attention to how he's putting these things together, and just like the different, and how he's orchestrating everything for real? So you look more at Kanye as an orchestra or a maestro. I'm not sure if I'm saying the right thing. But,
I would say with that, like, that's like a lot of layers to that. But as you said, the key difference, the way we look at those two, is Kanye. He's producer first, so he's already going to be in that conductor, orchestrator type of mindset. Whereas we have Drake, and he knows how to make hits, but he also has a team. I feel like he has a team. A team. He's very calculated, but he also has a team that's looking at all the analytics and how to
Right.
what's the best sounding thing. Because one thing I noticed with him over the years, and I've always noticed it, but like it just never leaves my mind, is that like with Drake, even his vocals sound calculated. Like, I mean, everybody has like their preset custom settings that they want on their vocal tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like you can hear the reverb. He has the perfect amount of reverb. He has
Right.
the perfect amount of echo.
Everything's perfect.
Exactly, he has a perfect amount of
Everything is
auto-tune,
perfect.
and it's so perfect and calculated to where it don't matter what he's talking about. It sounds so soothing to the ear.
Right.
So because of that, I think that I mean, I'll bring it past the Kanye thing for a minute, but because of that perfect sound that he's always had, one, he can make a hit sound like a smash, or he can make a like a not so good sounding song sound like a smash. But he can also um with that, he can also just like make something that sounds, not that it doesn't sound human, but like it goes into that conversation of AI, because
Mhm.
I think there's a big
Formulaic.
yeah, exactly. There's a formula. And he's always been that way, but it's coming out more in the forefront now because of AI. And really, you know, there's a thing with the beat that like the Kendrick and Drake beef started with the control verse back in 2013, because
Mhm.
Drake he took that being called out the wrong way. Like if he was really in that culture MC mindset, he wouldn't have taken it the wrong way. He got really in his feelings about that. And
Mhm.
I feel like because he took it the wrong way, Kendrick realized that one, he's not who he said he is, like as far as understanding how the culture works, and two, he's not appreciative of what the hip hop culture stands for, and that's competition. Iron sharpening iron. So when Kendrick called everybody out, you're supposed to step up to that challenge. But Drake saw it as a slight, and so he's
Mhm.
like, okay, I'm gonna focus on these hits and making perfect music. And now we get into 2024, and they over here with the a rap beef battle. You hearing it's Drake versus Kendrick, but it's also like culture versus calculation, like
Mhm.
culture versus AI, culture versus perfect algorithms and stuff like
Right.
that. And then that goes into the TikTok space where I mean, even though there's like a recent they took out like the UMG took out all their tracks and stuff from TikTok, but now I play my little brother got me on Fortnite and stuff, so I play that every now and then. But
Mhm.
now on Fortnite, they got it to where all those tracks are on Fortnite now. You can purchase tracks,
Oh
and
wow.
while you're in the lobby waiting on the game to start, or while you're actually in the game, you can stop. And if you have a team of like 2 or 3 people, you can stop in the middle of like battling and just go to open up a menu, go click a track. It could be like the weekend. We could say the
Mhm.
weekend, a weekend song, and you could split it into, they got it where you could split into stems, different tracks. You got the vocals, you got
Oh
the bass,
wow.
you got the lead guitar, and then you got the drums. So you could
You know
bring,
that.
no, it's crazy. It's fun
I
too.
didn't
It's
even know.
crazy. So you see where the tech is going. So like you could have one player maybe just doing the vocals of a weekend song, and
Mhm.
their teammate has a SZA and Doja Cat song, and they go to the drum track of that, and it automatically syncs. So you got
Oh
the
wow.
weekend vocals over a SZA and Doja Cat beat.
Dang, I didn't even realize it was going like
Yeah,
that.
you
That's
can
crazy.
change the tempo, you can change the notes, you can change it from minor to major. It's crazy, bro. So like, yeah, it's culture versus calculation.
Mm. Mm.
But we got to see how it pans out, because is are they going to start using it as a tool, or is it going, like, what type of tool is it going to turn into? Like like right now, the same way we were just talking about, Drake may have like 12 writers or something in the studio, and he using reference tracks. Like, what if, how is that going to look like 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, when we find out that he wasn't even in the studio with 12 writers anymore? Now he just telling the team or the AI what type of song he want to make, and he doesn't have to be in the studio to be in the culmination of that track, of that song.
Right.
you're losing the spirit and the essence of that. So
Spirit and essence. That's
yeah,
exactly what it is. That
and that's what Kendrick was fighting for, to be honest.
mhm. No, for real. Because and I think we did touch on.
I love both of their music, so yeah, it doesn't maybe no difference, but yeah,
Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize. It's like because I'm someone who I absolutely love Drake's music because it's perfect. Like there's
exactly.
nothing you it's like what don't you love? Like what do you seriously not like about it? I mean, other than the fact that there's no grounding of it. Like so that is the biggest issue. There is no ground because when we talked about this or like, different music comes from different regions.
Yeah,
And so it's like Drake really is an alien when it comes to his regional sound. Like he can go anywhere and kind
yeah.
of adopt or adapt to whatever sound is there. So
He brought sounds, to the forefront. Like he's like, yeah, he
yeah,
have taken like certain things, but in a way, I've always looked at it as he's just pushing. He's yeah, he probably he wants to be considered one of the best in hip hop, but I don't think that's gonna happen. Like if they're talking about just like straight up, you write your own stuff, whether he
mhm.
does or doesn't. But when it comes to like pushing the envelope of music and bringing and just exposing people to different types of music, yeah, he's done that. Like he's always done that. So I applaud him for that. But yeah,
But I think that kind of leads because I feel like the issue when we look at hip hop all the way,
yeah,
it's a fight against commercialization.
hmm
So it's like that's what Drake does is he commercializes everything just through him being who he is. So it's like, yeah,
yeah,
when he does get on Afro beats and now like, but that's always why I loved his music because I was like, okay, this is making it more palatable for more people to consume. But that's a double-edged sword right there
yeah.
because
Well, see, like the thing what you said about hip hop being the anti-commercialism, like yeah,
mhm,
that's true. That's how it started. But I feel like there's a shift probably around 2017. I say 2017 was when the Migos were on top of the world because the Migos made hip hop main like they were the poster boys, poster childs for
trap music, yeah.
trap music and mainstream hip hop being the number one genre in the world.
Mm.
Like we got it's the number one genre. That means everybody's listening to it. That means not just black people, not just like it's just like everybody's listening to it. And that
We
means
actually need to touch on this
yeah,
a little bit heavier because, yeah, sticking on to the point of the Migos around the time, so they had some really major cosigns when you're looking back and in retrospect. So first Drake hopped on Versace,
yeah,
then they had Bad and Bougie, which was a hit already, but then they had Donald Glover shout them out on after
yeah,
the Emmys, right?
yeah,
Golden Globes,
yeah.
Emmys.
One of those. Yeah,
But yeah, and that really, I do think that's definitely a major turning point
hmm
in the culture. But do you think it was for? It's hard to. It's very difficult to say because I think at that time money was being made, and I think after that initial wave, then I think that kind of got people like, oh, you can really make some money with this music, but then I think it kind of maybe almost probably not as like noticeable, but probably like a similar thing way in like how podcasting got really hot
yeah.
at one point
That's
and
exactly.
then died out. I think
Uh,
that's what's happening in hip hop.
no, that's exactly. Well, that's what's been happening, literally and figuratively, because around that time, like you said, yeah, you seeing hip hop going up, up, and up, and I was like, what is the consequence of that? And one of the consequences is now the big companies are willing to pay a lot more because they're going to make a lot more off of you,
Mm,
but also that's gonna give um, the young artists that came up around that time a lot more resources and a lot more power to do whatever they want to do. And
mm-hmm.
because of that, they got access to crazy drugs like Percocet and
Mm,
all that stuff, and they living life really fast. And it's is resulting in great music, but then it's resulting in certain emotional damage and trauma that people don't talk about because again, like some people may joke about, but they never these big labels and stuff. They're going to give you all these resources, but and they're going to encourage you to continue to make that dark music, but they're not going to give you therapy after the studio session,
Right.
of you making that dark music and putting out those dark influences into the world. So it's going to be a cycle of okay, just keep putting it out, and then when they pass or when they die early from the very stuff they was talking about, then the label's going to make a lot more money because now everybody's streaming your music because you're dead now,
Mm-hmm.
and the label there's a lot of greed in that.
Right. Honestly, that just kind of when you did say that, it did take me back to maybe the first time hip hop was commercialized was around the time Biggie and Pac were beefing, if you want to think of it that way. And
Yeah, they
then
make a lot of money off of beef and death because they make a lot of money off of beef because you got a lot more music coming out, whether because they taking shots, so a lot more music is dropping, a lot more people tuning in. But then the result of that is if it gets too far, if it gets past music, then somebody's gonna die.
mhm.
Well, when somebody died, now your music's gonna get bought more and streamed more. So yeah, like yeah, they they don't mind that type of stuff, which is crazy.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I've been looking at once because I mean respect to all hip hop like and from in the past and everything, but I do think it was always strange to me how long people kind of forced Biggie and Pac to be at the forefront of hip hop. Well,
Yeah,
not something like but I think that it was due to them being kind of the start because I'm like there was a whole bunch of great people who came prior to them, who made
exactly.
way more music, more impactful music. So
Mhm.
and I never really wanted to be a hell. I was like, maybe I'm just not. Maybe I wasn't there in the time, so I don't understand. But as I
Yeah,
get older, and I'm looking and I'm seeing the same thing happen when it came to Pop Smoke and Juice World. Like they were, don't get me wrong, they were very big while they were alive, but to me, it just seems like it's starting to seem like a pattern. And every time hip hop gets commercialized, we lose direction, first of all, because I think that you can kind of you can do a crazy compare and contrast between pre Biggie and Pac and after Biggie and Pac.
yeah.
And then you can probably do the same thing pre. What year did all of them pass away? I was like, well, I know Pop Smoke passed away in 2020, but
Yeah.
did
Well, who
Juice WRLD?
Juice World was dang, what year is that? Was that 2019 or 20?
That might have been 2019 because
That's
I
when he put
remember.
the Fire album too.
But see, they came out with so many posthumous albums I was that was a time where I was starting to really be sick of hip hop. I was like, dang man, all of these
Yeah,
albums
I hated
dropping. I was not a fan of
that
that.
too. Yeah, and
And,
now it's going to get crazy with AI.
right.
Hopefully, I mean, hopefully the rest of these artists and upcoming artists like live long. But if this stuff starts happening again, they could replace them with better music or just about the same quality with AI now. The level of tech is at now, which is crazy.
Mhm.
And then
And
also, oh my bad. Well, one thing I want to touch on is the is like the sensational aspect of it, or like just I guess the commercial part is when you see these artists get that much success. Another consequence I didn't touch on is the quality of music that's coming out.
mm,
That makes me think of artists like, I mean, shoot, even Drake isn't trying no more. Like, and, I mean, of course, he has a team and stuff and all that, but we can, as fans, we can recognize and hear the difference. But Lil Baby, that makes me think about Lil Baby, like, cause like he just don't have that hunger no more, and that tends to happen like with certain artists because I feel like he blew up not too fast, but he just blew up at the right time for him, and around that time he realized, oh, he can still make this X amount of money with X amount of effort and quality now.
mm, Mm-hmm.
I think recently I heard a track that he was on with Central C.
Yeah, I heard that one.
I because one thing I've been saying to myself with his music is like all he needs to do, he's still kind of spitting. All he needs to do is turn down the auto tune track, like
Mm-hmm.
turn out the auto tune so we can hear you a lot more. And he did that on that Central C track. I ain't gonna lie, but
Yeah.
it's that hunger. You got artists like Lil TJ. Like man, I thought he was gonna be like the next. I
Yeah.
don't know who I thought he was gonna be. Like he was like putting out. He was hungry and stuff. At a certain point, that hunger is gonna be fed and satisfied, and then it's gonna be up to the artist's individual motivation. And when that motivation isn't there, and they just stagnant, then yeah, like we're not gonna get the same quality and stuff. And you know,
So you feel like there's too much money in music right now?
yeah, it's a ton of music. I mean, a ton of money in music now because I forgot what that number was, but around the time of the pandemic, do you remember when it first started that first year that they
Yeah.
canceled all the concerts and
Oh yeah.
festivals and stuff? I don't know. I can't remember what the number was. I think it was like a billion or it was some crazy number. But that's how much money the industry as a whole lost
Mm-hmm.
because there were no concerts and stuff. So now they're trying to make that money back and then some.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you see all these artists going on double leg tours and stuff. Like they say, "Oh, I'm doing this is a tour." Like you got like the big ones, like Drake. He had to do a 2 leg tour.
Mm-hmm.
Nicki Minaj, she just announced a second leg of her. Like, yeah, they trying to make all that money back.
Mm. That's actually a good point because yeah, it does seem like, and I think that might be one of the major symptoms. Is just like way too oversaturated with money, and they don't even know how to properly spend that. Because I remember back in the day when I would look at an album, I would know what type of project I was listening to based off of the features that they were about to have. So it's
Exactly.
like, oh, you spent some money for that feature. So
Uh,
it's like, okay, you see the level of quality going into certain projects. But now I feel like everybody's couple bands to get just a feature on there. So it's like,
like, that artistry is like going down. That also is a double edged sword of the ones that we lost early, like Pop Smoke and Triple X, and just like man, Young Dolph, PNB Rock, like
mhm,
Takeoff, like they especially like man, I mean all of them like had an effect on me, but the Young Dolph and Takeoff one was like so big.
yeah,
Not only because like they're humans and stuff, but also because of the music that I got from them, what it meant to me, but
mhm,
also because what it meant for the culture. Because Takeoff that ended hip hop's run officially
mhm.
for what we doing now, 2024.
I could see that.
That was like because one thing I noticed with that is, I mean, it sounds like sound like a selfish fan with that, but like I was like, dang, one, he's not gonna be able to live his life no more. Two, we're not gonna get no more music from him. Three, we're not gonna get like a 25 year lifetime achievement award or reunion between
Mhm.
those. And that's something you want to see his legacy in hip hop and just music as a whole. So yeah, we
Mhm.
arrived at that. So yeah,
Nah,
like it's again losing the essence.
that essence is the thing that and I think that's really what they're like when we talk about these artists dying so young. It's
Mhm.
like they're living long enough just to like get an understanding of their essence and without allowing them to then get into trouble or ruin their legacy in a way. Like if we look at Diddy right now, like if Diddy had passed away, like he would have been big just in terms of his essence, and then he
Yeah,
had. But I mean, I feel like Diddy was kind of messing up prior to
yeah, he
us
was.
even knowing who he was. But just like not giving the artist the chance to ruin their personal legacy for one, so it
Yeah,
allows the music. Because so many people, when you look at Tupac, so
yeah,
many people just speculate on what he would have done and where he would be had
exactly.
all of that not. So it just leaves so much room for his brand to continue to grow. And I
Yeah,
feel like that's where what a lot of record labels are like, that would be the best case scenario for so many of them. It's just like, okay, we can get the street cred from the person. So it's like, because they, and that's something that I've also like been paying attention to, like especially when they had a lot of like the drill, like, and I think that's what makes the violent music so much more profitable,
Yeah.
simply because it's like, okay, we're able to, and because ultimately that's what you're looking for when you're listening to a lot of like younger artists, like really you're looking for that hunger. So it's like, where's the hunger going to come from? Well, someone who's really hustling on the street every
Yeah.
day and trying to get it out the mud. So it's like they capture that and
Yeah.
then they sell you that idea, because who are they selling it to? They're selling it to people who don't want to physically live that lifestyle but still want to experience it. So because yeah, when I'm thinking about music, like they'll have somebody who's bragging, or just the culture. Like if we're looking at Young Thug, someone who's been associated with murders, different types of crimes and stuff, and but that's not any type of less appealing. Even though right now he's fighting for his life,
Yeah.
to stay out of jail,
Mhm.
but that made the music so much more authentic, and
Exactly.
makes people gravitate to it more.
Exactly.
But it's like he goes to jail for the rest of his life. Now it's like, okay, they're still able to make the music, and now he's considered stamped real. And now it's like, what can, because they're not even, and I think that's where hip hop really takes a big fall, because it's like, okay, we like his music, we like the authenticity, but
Mm.
we can't ever accept the real consequences that come from doing some of the things that he's discussing in his music. And
Yeah.
I think that that's where it's hard for people in hip hop to hold each other accountable, because of what we choose to glorify. So if we're glorifying um, Young Thug for possibly, being involved in real street gang activity,
Yep.
and then, but then it's the same thing comes. So now you have someone who's really dealing with sexual assault cases and stuff now, and just um, by the principles that we've established in hip hop, it's like, you want people to break the law, or what I mean, like
Yeah.
kind of just that mentality, I would say. And
Mhm.
then that's why I don't believe you can truly base any real culture off of what we have in hip hop today, because that simple contradiction right there. It's like, how can we grow as a community
Yeah.
when that's our basis right there?
No, that's crazy because like no, that's a real point because like it's sort of like hip hop is a contradiction. Like it's the rebellion, it's rebellion, but also it's a cycle, and then it's a form of communication. That's how I started, getting
Mhm.
messages out to the culture, to the people in the community. But
Right.
man, one thing I was thinking about when you said that is like yeah, the music when it comes to artists like Young Thug and like whoever else is making that type of music, people can hear it the same way we can hear like the calculation in Drake's music. We can
Mhm.
hear the pain in like Young Thug's
Right.
music or Trippie Redd's music or Triple Wax or like we can hear the pain in that music. And so music itself is a drug anyway.
Mhm.
When you got like these big entities controlling that drug and understanding the supply and the demand, then that's always going to push out. Um, yeah, that's always going to push out like just negative consequences for the end users. So yeah,
Right. And real quick, I had a thought. I wrote it down the other day. I was just thinking, and I was like, man, this Diddy situation is really almost the equivalent to like a drug dealer
yeah,
like back in the days, getting, like, imagine if like Frank Lucas had gotten arrested and during social media,
yeah,
like, you know what I mean? And
exactly.
just think about the dynamics that people would have had,
Uh,
like in terms of like what side they're on, because everyone know it's like everyone knew what he was doing,
hmm
and nobody had a problem, because it's like, one, it's
Exactly.
destroying your community. Two, it's giving people a false sense of wealth as well. So it's like you going around flaunting. And to me, that's what Diddy was doing the whole
Yeah,
time. Like, you know what I mean? He's almost like we're taking the joke. Because now for everyone, to me, that's where the disingenuous part comes in. For everyone to now act like they had no clue, like people still acting shocked from that Cassie video.
yeah,
I'm not. We not in the music industry, and that was not. We
uh,
like that's the
yeah.
tip. That's the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, exactly,
So it's
exactly.
one of those things where it's like, okay, how we like we glorify so much, like people pushing just self-destructiveness onto our own community, whether it be drugs, whether it be the
Yeah,
lifestyle.
and that's the thing. Like we glorify it, but nobody want to listen to Lecrae. Like nobody want to listen to
Then they don't want to listen to the good music.
nobody want to listen to nobody want to listen to that. Like they like that type of music, like Christian rap and hip hop and stuff. Or I'd say Christian rap, not necessarily hip hop. That's different. Like they they've been trying to adapt, and I've heard like some of the crazy songs where like he sounds like Young Thug just to appeal to that
Right,
ear.
the ear.
Yeah, he sound like Young Thug. He got Ty Dolla Sign on the track, and then he's talking about like something something positive. And people don't want to hear that. Like they know, like Young Thug, no, he's not talking about. You know, like it's not the same as Young Thug. So we're not gonna listen to that. Like it's the same thing. Like nobody want to listen to the positive upbeat stuff all the time, at least. Um, yeah, it's just I don't know when the change will happen. Like it would take an artist that started off as a Young Thug or a trap artist talking about drugs and pushing weight to transition into something more positive. It takes stuff like that to really appeal to that. Like I would say, man, that's why Young Dolph was like real to me, man. Like, like yeah, he'll talk about like his trapping and stuff like that. But me listening to it, and maybe everybody's not this way, but trap music is one of my favorite type of music because it's upbeat. It keeps me on my grind and just that mindset. Like it's not like trap doesn't have to be selling drugs. Like it could be it's your hustle. That's how
Right.
I've always looked at it. Trap is your hustle. So when they talk about I'm doing trap by doing this, doing that, like I'm taking it as I'm just doing my grind. But everybody's not going to do that. Like people are very literal, especially like the younger audiences and stuff like that. So you got to really be careful, like how like what you portray and what you put out there. But when we talk about like the whole like Diddy situation, and artists like that, like R. Kelly and even Kanye, like people, it's like at what point do you separate the music and the artist, right? Like I don't know. I think one, it depends on how far they've gotten into their legacy, and two, how active are they still? Three, can they erase or cover that facade with some new fire music, with some hits? Like, yeah, I think it just depends on stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna speak to a couple of points you said. Like for one, I think Kanye, he started off kind of positive, just like in terms of like he was so creative that it did usher in a new wave. Like I do think that he was able to tone down. Like that was really the big shift from gangster, like from 50 Cent. Then he went into the Kanye era. And then like even to me, Lil Wayne, he had a couple of bars about like selling stuff, but it
Yeah,
wasn't anything like for real. But another thing, I feel like when we listen to music for its authenticity, a lot of people, or like why it might not work for like Lecrae or somebody who's not necessarily really living that lifestyle, is because we're looking to the music for some type of direction at times,
yeah,
and we want to hear the mistakes people had. Like ultimately, I'm listening to music to kind of help avoid some pitfalls. So if we're listening to someone who we think is authentic and has gotten to a certain level of success, then we want to hear their journey, the mistakes they made, and some of the things that they did right. Because a lot of times the message used to always be like, oh yeah, sell something, then get that money and then go legit. Like that was kind of the formula. Like so, and I think a lot of people were able to then listen to that music and be like, okay, this is someone who used to live that lifestyle. Then they switched. They got their money from dirty means, and then they were able to set their life straight. So it was kind of like a redemption story. But now I don't feel like anybody wants artists to grow out of that. Like, because I think Little Baby would have fit that perfect description in terms of like when he was first coming up, what he was rapping about. And I'm always saying it's like he had to stop rapping about that because look, he was right next to Young Thug. It's like if he continued talking about the things he was talking about and continued to
you're right.
learn, you know what I mean? He would have been right in jail with Thug, and possibly even dead, because I think that's all. Because then artists are expected to keep it real, and you know what I mean, be actually go to still be a part of their community, like with Nipsey Hussle too. Nipsey he was fitting that similar archetype as well of just coming up doing his dirt and trying to go legit and become a real business.
Like Jay-Z. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Jay-Z was really he's the first one who's,
and like you said with the Little Baby thing, like no, that's a really good point. Like but then it gets to back to the consequences of being commercialized and that success, because once hip hop went mainstream, like we saw a lot of more resources come to the space, but then we also lost that sacredness in like what's being talked about and understanding like, oh, this is just for our ears, our people, and our communities.
Right.
It's not like that no more. So that's what happened. Like there's no more. It's not sacred anymore. So like you said, now Lil Baby got to change his lyrics up and his content, whether that's a result of him just growing as a person, or whether that's a result of him just like understanding he's liable to be taken to court over the stuff he says in his music now, because laws are being passed to use the music lyrics as evidence, which is crazy. It's it's a creative space, it's a creative form, art form. So when you like taking that voice away, then like stuff is going to get watered down, and now we just gotta just do stuff for the money, or less effort, less quality, more output. So that's why I appreciate artists like Kendrick. He's able to balance it because he's an MC. Like MCs, they hold a different type of weight in the culture. Like my ultimate MC would be Mos Def. Like he's always been my ultimate MC. And then under them, as far as like just the top artists or top, shoot, man, like the big three used to be that, but now Drake is, he's still like it's still the top three: J. Cole, Kendrick, and Drake, no particular order, but they just I don't know like what they really stand for nowadays. Like even Kendrick, like, I don't know, are they standing for something for real? Or are they just looking like it? I can't say that.
That really determines the difference between like an MC and rappers. Like I think the rappers are the ones, that's the big three. And that's always because I'm like, that seems more commercial. But even like I said, I don't feel like certain of them are really touching on it. I think actually in the last episode, Frank, he had brought up Wale and J. Cole and stuff. And I was saying, how much of an MC how much I like Wale, and how much when he was coming, because he was talking about things that was relevant to me at that time. And I mean, I think everyone's still talking about something somewhat relevant. Like, to me, Drake's stuff isn't relevant just because he's not growing anymore. Like, I think we're all at that point now to where we're like, okay, like, we can be single, like we know how to talk to girls, we know how to just like have a good night out, but he's not teaching you how to settle down, or what I mean, what qualities to look for. Like you don't even know what Drake likes.
Nobody want to hear that though, because you still got J. Cole talking about folding clothes and stuff 2 years ago. Nobody want to hear that. And Chance, that album was trash though. Chance talking about being married and all that, which nothing's wrong with marriage, but hip hop, nobody want to hear a whole album of that. if he's supposed to be that part of. I think Chance was a little confused by his lane, but then you got I forgot who I was even going to say, but yeah, it's totally different.
Yeah.
Oh, Usher. Then you got people. Usher's what, like 40 something, maybe almost 50,
Yeah.
and he's still talking about being single, and he got a whole wife and kids now, and but it's about like what he
It's
should.
marketable.
Yeah, exactly. What's more marketable? Exactly. Same reason why J. Cole be hiding his wife and don't talk about her and stuff. Like he married and stuff. I mean, I think that came out accidentally in the interview he had with Ryan Coogler though. But um, and then Kendrick, like, he's private and his stuff came in the forefront with the Drake beef.
Yeah.
But they keeping all this stuff private. One, some of it is for peace, but two is so they can be flexible to portray and put out these certain messages. Um, but there's always a consequence to that. Like I keep saying it, but because there are so many consequences to this type of stuff, like people are sensationalizing, like the TikToks and just different stuff like that, and we're not we're not we're not we're not uplifting and appreciating the real artistry and what artist is able to say and I guess articulate in the song in a good way. Like we just if it's good enough for you to like dance to or something like that, then like Ice Spice or something, yeah, like it's going to be a hit. It's going to be big. But if it's saying something real, then that's going to be like number 99 or 100 on the top 100 chart.
Man, real quick. This will probably be one of our last. So Memorial Day just passed, and what I mean, I was hopping on the aux cord at this my friend's little pool party and stuff, and then I realized I didn't have enough like dance music. I'm gonna just say dance, so, like, but no twerk, no, not enough. I didn't personally have enough in my like repertoire for that type of event, really. Which is like, I know what to play still and everything, but it had just made me like at that moment I realized I was just like, there is a place for this because I'm just like the music does do something to people.
Yeah.
Like when on a vibe level.
Man,
like,
on a real quick, like on the DJ side, I've noticed like when I'm DJ for crowds and stuff, like you really do got control over them with the music.
right.
Like certain BPMs, like I can start at 80 BPM, just get like the small talk going, and I can see how they're reacting. And then if I slowly transition it to like 120 and then 140, then small talk stops and the twerk. It's like so yeah, they that stuff is intentional when they make this music. So yeah,
right.
The right drums, the 808s, the rhythm, all that.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, as an actual DJ, like I guess we can this will probably be one of the last topics. We almost said about an hour and a half, but yeah, just kind of talk about I guess vibes really, because I think just what I was really realizing at that because there were certain songs. I'm also just side note, I'm making a playlist for a family reunion for my family reunion, and it's because since I'm trying to be inclusive of all ages and stuff. And one thing that I've always had an issue with is I hate censored music. Like I just cannot stand censored music. It's like it ruins the whole song.
It does.
And I'm just like, I would rather just not listen to it at all if it has to be censored. So it's like that's something that I'm struggling with when it comes to, because it's like, all right, I know I don't like censored music, but it's like I can't have this blasting with my grandmother. So it's like, so I guess like maybe speak to how you deal with mixed genre, not genres, mixed age ranges and crowds, or different demographics. Because and real quick, just like that's one of the things that I'm really aiming to do with We the Sauce, so I can bridge that gap. And I think I started originally by trying to exclude a lot of the extreme stuff, so like anybody who comes on can kind of ease their way into it. But then I like this past event made me realize it's like, if you don't have, like, you're missing so much of like what it really is. So yeah, you can
I'll say like on a, I don't know. There's different ways you can go about it, but like the way I would go about it is like if it's an age thing, if there's an age gap, let's say we have like people that were born or people at the ages from like what 20 or even like 16, 18. Let's say 18 to like 65 or
yeah.
70, like that. If that's the age range, then the way you do that is like you have to put it in different windows.
Mhm.
So let's start the old folks early. Let's start chronologically.
Mhm.
Let's play the
That's where
70s.
my decade playlist came from.
Exactly. Yeah, no, for real. And you can do it just like that. Like play the 60s or no, the 70s or 70s, slowly go to the 80s. People going, there's always gonna be some hits that people recognize, even if they're younger. They
Yeah.
gonna hear like the big mainstream hits from the 70s, 80s, got Michael Jackson and all that. Um, and then 90s. And then as you're doing that, as you spreading it over the time, those older folks are going to get a little tired. They're not going to want to dance no more. They're probably going to head out early. And then by the time it gets to the 2000s, okay, you got the middle range, middle age people. And then you get to the 2010s, 2020s, then the only ones up later now are the younger ones. And then, okay, now,
Yeah.
also like, okay, now it's more lenient because everybody done had, some vices, a little something to drink or whatever. And now, okay, we don't care no more because it's getting late. People already going. And then, I'm thinking of it that way.
Right. Hmm.
When you talk about like different genres, it depends on the environment. Like if
Yeah.
like and also like certain genres have like similar elements to them. Like there's been times even now I'm starting to experiment with it'll probably be my next mix. I'm starting to experiment with Afro beats, electronic, and still hip hop in there.
Hmm.
But there's certain BPMs and certain instruments you can highlight to transition into that. But I think the thing you can always fall back on is the hits.
Yeah.
There's always gonna be hits within a decade. There's always gonna be hits within a genre. If you play like a few of those and sprinkle them in with the other as you transition to different songs, and yeah, like you always will be good. They just like if you was Drake and you drop a hit, like people gonna forget about, oh, he just played a song that has some cussing in it. Like no, just play a little snippet and then drop a universal hit and then go to the next one.
That's why Drake is so important. That's the main reason Drake is so important because he's like that glue that
Yeah,
can like
exactly.
it's like you play something off, it's like throw some Drake in there.
And now he like got the dance album now. They say he might drop another one of those soon.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I hope he does, man, because that I'll Never Miles is vibe. Like that was right
I love
time.
the vibes. I
That's
love
around the
the
time when
vibes.
I had just moved out here to Miami, man. I had just moved out here. Not even a month had passed, and that drop, that was like the soundtrack to me being out here. Like
Yeah, no.
it fit the vibe. They was playing it in different places, like just like rooftops and like different stuff. Like yeah, it's a global sound. Like when you get to that global, international like ear and like just sound, like yeah, like it got elements of everything.
Mm-hmm. Nah, for sure. Shoot, man, I think that's a great place to just end it because we'll really be on here talking all night, man. Man, first off, I just want to say thank you for joining me
Yeah,
today. Uh, Wealth of information, man. I can't wait to watch this back and see, just see all of this. Real quick before we get out of here, is there anything that you want to promote or just like, shout out your socials, whatever, anything you got
um,
coming up?
yeah. I mean, I'm not big on the social, but I'll say, I am working on, like I said, I started my company early this year,
Mm.
so I'm working on my website now. I'm hoping to finish it up before the end of the summer. So I'll keep you posted on that. But my company is Davis Design Solutions, so yeah, just be on the lookout for that.
Okay, for sure, man. And, I mean, we definitely got to do, our virtual business stuff together. This was a good start in terms of us
Yeah,
just working together remotely, man. I had a great time doing this.
same,
Um,
same. Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate that. But
yeah, to everyone who's watching, we appreciate you. Um, this is episode 6, I think, of
yeah.
consistency. So you know what I mean? I didn't want Frank, like I said, Frank couldn't join us this week, but I didn't want to, since it's called consistency, I was like, man, I can't be inconsistent. And so, you know what I mean? He'll probably be on back on next week. I'd love for you to join one where he's here, and then we could I know that, yeah, he'll love to talk to you and pick your brain as well. Frank's a really great guy. So yeah, everyone, thank you so much. I think we're only streaming on YouTube right now.
Okay.
I'm gonna try and download this. Sometimes when I save it to when I stream to YouTube, it'll allow me to download the full video and then edit it later. So I just haven't been editing anything. I really haven't had the time to. So I'm doing things quick and dirty. But yeah, man, this was a great talk. Like I think this was so much, especially about the UI UX stuff.
Yeah.
Like I definitely want to cut that up and definitely distribute that to people who are looking to get into the field, because I think that's something that people need to hear.
Exactly. And there's, I can talk about that all day. But one thing I would say, like you just said, like, you grinding this stuff is to keep it consistent, stay consistent. And that's with anything, not just UI UX. So I say that. And then two, people that are trying to get into UI UX, you don't have to have a design background. Like honestly, there's a lot of strengths and pros to coming from a different, background or industry. I've seen like neuroscientists and zookeepers like on UX teams, and they have like some of the best perspectives and a lot of empathy, because empathy towards the users is a good thing too. So yeah, you don't have to have a design background to be in UX.
Nah, for sure. And we're trying to give empathy towards the viewers. Like we want to give them a broad view of just different career paths. Like, yeah, having you on was such a treat, man. I thank you once again.
Appreciate it. Fun.
Thanks everybody to tuning in with us. We will catch you in 2 weeks, maybe even more consistently, maybe up in that especially we gotta get Chris to start his stream and start getting some more information out to these people, because
facts.